Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. Sam Bushman, Sheriff Richard Mack, CSPOA.org on your radio. This is the broadcast for April 8th in the year of our Lord, 2025, promoting God, family, country, protecting life, liberty, and property, using the supreme law of the land to do so. So much to cover, so little time. Let's just dig right in. Deep staters are raging. Why? Because now it turns out that the IRS and DHS, so Internal Revenue Service, Department of Homeland Security, they're considering working together to locate millions of illegal aliens. Cortney Weil over at The Blaze with this piece. What do you think? IRS and DHS working together to help Tom Holman, Sheriff? I say bring it.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, get the IRS doing something that would actually be worthwhile for once, instead of unconstitutional, cruel, and ruthless against the law-abiding Americans. And so, yeah, let them do it. Because, first of all, I think the IRS wants to do it so they can make themselves relevant again.
Yeah, I'd prefer Donald just shut them down, but that's another topic.
Oh, me too. Yeah, absolutely. You know, both of us feel that way. Absolutely. But no, so I think this would be a good time for those of us who want to take advantage of freedom opportunities. For instance, stop paying. I'll tell every American, you should stop paying taxes to this federal government until they do constitutional, lawful, and non-criminal spending. The most criminal spending they're doing, as you and I have said on the show numerous times, and that is funneling taxpayer dollars to a private company, private organization, private social club, whatever you want to call it. But it's not a governmental purpose, and it's not a governmental entity, and they're not like Boeing making planes for the military. That's a different issue. That's a contract. They have no contract with Planned Parenthood to provide any government service whatsoever. So there is nothing that is valid in spending money and spending taxpayer dollars on Planned Parenthood. That is criminal. It is totally corrupt and should stop. And I'm telling you right now, I not only will stop, but I will encourage everyone I know to do the same.
It's hard to deal, but we pay $14 billion a year to keep the IRS running, from what I understand.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
I'd love to see that sucker shut down. But if they're not going to be shut down, though, let's at least have them develop some relevancy, and let's have them work with DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, and work with sheriff departments all across the country, and work with state attorneys generals, and let's go ahead and take care of this business. We need to get rid of these illegal aliens. One, because there's murderers and rapists and gang members and everything else in society. Very dangerous indeed. But number two, we cannot let the next census be taken with all these illegals to change the allocation of representatives. I mean, pretty soon you'll get all these states with these illegals. I'll just say New York with a ton of illegals in New York City, for instance. Hey, they'll get another rep, another liberal whacked out rep that will absolutely change the game. You think we don't agree on anything now? It'll get much, much, much worse if we're not very careful. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up, Sheriff. Any other comment on that? Interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's like I say, maybe they're actually finding some people in various other departments that have been criminal organizations and trying to make them do something right for once. But I don't trust the IRS no matter which way you slice them.
Amen to that fact. But at least there's something we can agree with they're doing, and that's why I pointed out in an era where nobody agrees on anything. I try to find things where I agree with the administration. I try to find things that I think, hey, that does make some sense to me, or that's worth working on. The next issue which shocks me, thou shalt not kill is one of the 10 commandments. It should be as easy to understand as the nose on your face, but even that's in debate. They want to kill the elderly. They want to kill the young. They want assisted suicide. They want one more day, ladies and gentlemen. Every day becomes one more day where our money is being used to murder innocent children. But there's good news on the horizon for this, Sheriff Mack. It's called H.R. 7. H.R. 7 is officially titled, and I don't even know how to say this. Congress needs to work on their titles, but it's called the No Taxpayers Funding for Abortion and Abortion Insurance Full Disclosure Act of 2025. That's what it's called. And they say it may be the single most important bill to be introduced in the 119th Congress. I actually agree with that. The point is the bill seeks to permanently ban all federal funding of abortion. Amen. The bill is necessary because President Trump's executive order banning taxpayer abortion will be overturned. If somebody else who's not as friendly to the pro-life cause as Trump takes office, it'll be overturned. That's why Congress needs to codify it. Our best chance of permanently ending taxpayer-funded abortion is now through legislation. We have the momentum. Let's get this done. Permanently ending taxpayer abortions. You got to tell your representatives to vote yes on H.R. 7. And we got to defund it now. In his first term, President Trump defunded abortion. But, of course, it just got overturned with Joe. As a result, from 2019 to 2021, Planned Parenthood, listen to me carefully, performed 1.1 million abortions. Okay, Biden keeps giving them money. Now we got to stop it. Trump signed another executive order to shut that down. Demand Congress vote yes on H.R. 7. We got to get this done. What do you think, Sheriff?
It's looking good, but I'm still worried about it. I don't know how many Republicans in the past have voted to fund Planned Parenthood, but it was in some years it would have to be rather significant. And I'm afraid that they're going to take the same view as they have in the past, because it's going to be counted against them as a vote for women. How the Democrats could possibly survive the destruction of female sports, and that they've been pushing that for the last 3 or 4 years, big time. It makes me wonder why any woman or girl or female would support the Democrats at all, but they still do, because it's all part of that blind hate and the Trump derangement syndrome. They are deranged and demented in being realistic and using reason and logic. So I'm still worried about it, because Republicans have sided with Planned Parenthood before.
I agree 100%. This H.R. 7 is a good start, and Senator Josh Hawley's working on a companion bill in the Senate that should be released soon, they say. Now, here's some interesting tidbits that I think is really worth thinking about and understanding. Abortion is the number one cause of death worldwide. Did you know that, Sheriff?
That doesn't surprise me. I've never seen that statistic before, but yeah, that sounds very realistic.
Abortions committed by Planned Parenthood alone are the number 4th cause of death in the United States.
Yeah.
We're just allowing these killers to just run around. That's why I started out and said one more day. Every day matters.
We hail them as heroes, Sam. We vote for them again and again.
Right.
And again. Yeah. Astonishing.
Guess how much the abortion industry costs our society?
I don't know in what perspective.
In a year, what it costs. There's a
I know,
2000.
I know.
I understand.
I know how much tax dollars go to Planned Parenthood. That's $700 million.
Yeah, but it's way more. So there's a House Ways and Means Committee report that came out in 2022, shows that abortions cost the U.S. economy at least $6.9 trillion.
What?
Yeah, because you got to ask yourself, it's not just murdering the kids, it's all the different things. I mean, nobody's going to be born now, so doctors can't deliver babies, right?
Okay.
You're not going to have people paying taxes because they're not born. They're not here. You're not going to have people consuming because they're not here. I mean, let's say that you murder 1 million babies. Hey, that's 1 million economic outputs and inputs that aren't happening anymore, right?
Who put that up? Who put that number out?
It was a congressional report from 2022.
Oh my goodness.
Point is, it's high time we stop paying for murder. Tell Congress to stop using our tax dollars to fund the murder of children. Defund abortion now. There's a lot of people working on it, and good for them. And I commend them, and I want to do all that I can to help them. Here's the problem. Because my congressman has like 1 million people to deal with, not 30,000 as the Constitution calls for, I can't even get to my rep. I can't even talk to him. The best I can do is leave him a voicemail. Hang tight. Liberty Roundtable Live.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
Step into the boots of the American West with Range Magazine, where grit meets grace. This is a front row seat to the stories, struggles, and triumphs of ranchers, farmers, and stewards of the land. From jaw-dropping photography to no-nonsense reporting, Range brings you the untold tales of life on the range. Whether you're a city dweller with a cowboy's heart or living life where the pavement ends, Range speaks to the soul of the West. Subscribe today at rangemagazine.com.
Attention collectors and savvy investors. We are excited to announce a momentous evolution in our journey. Introducing Free Water Coin Company, formerly known as Rust Coin and Gift. This rebranding takes us back to the very roots of where it all began. Free Water, Oregon. It's a tribute to the legacy of Al Rust and a celebration of 3 generations of dedication to excellence in the world of coins and precious gifts. Al, Brian, and Jake Rust standing strong through 64 years of service. Discover a world of exceptional service at Free Water Coin Company, your premier destination for genuine, honest money and precious gifts. Under Brian's expert guidance, Free Water Coin Company, building on the legacy of Rust Coin and Gift, continues its tradition of trust and excellence. Visit us at our Provo, Utah location. Explore our treasures online at freewatercoinco.com or call us at 801-377-1574. Free Water Coin Company, where your future is built one honest coin at a time.
Thank you, ma'am. You bet. All right, there you have it. Let me tell you what happened, ladies and gentlemen, just so you understand. Now that there's 1 million people that I have to compete with to talk to my representative, I can't get it done. So I call the Capitol, 202-225-3121. A voicemail comes on and says, who do you want to talk to? And I say, my Congressman Mike Kennedy. Goes there, gets a voicemail or a little greeting. It says, press 1 if you're a staff member from a different office. Press 2 if you want to leave a message and tell the, congressman what you think. Press 3 if you want to come take a tour. And that's all you got. So I press 2 over and over, and I always get voicemail. So I just have to leave a message. Just so you know but if I press 1, I get to somebody. Remember, 1 is if I'm from a different congressional office and I'm a staffer, then I can press 1 to get to them. If I'm an American citizen, I can't get to anybody. So now, right away in this voicemail system of Mike Kennedy, a brand new representative, by the way, I can't get to anybody if I press 2 for the citizen thing. But if I press 1 and pretend I'm a staffer from a different office, then I have preferential treatment and somebody answers the phone. Interesting. So then I basically say to the lady, hey, just want to know where Mike stands on this HR 7. She goes, I don't have any talking points for that. I said, I'm not asking you for talking points. I've got the talking points. I just want to know if the congressman supports it. She says, I haven't talked to him about it. I said, I'm not asking if you've talked to him about it. I'm asking if he supports it or not. Well, you can go to our website and read about it. I know, but when I go to your website, I don't read about it. It's not there at all. I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. I can ask the congressman about it. So it's HR 7, and I can't even know if my congressman supports it or not, and I have no way to find out. The staffer doesn't know. Otherwise, you get a voicemail. It's not on his website. You just can't even know if your congressman supports it, much less do any good to urge him. You think she's really going to pass my message along and it's going to influence the congressman? I don't think he'll ever even get wind of my message. Not in a million years. So I'm just telling you right now, we don't have any representation anymore, Sheriff. That's the bottom line. And I've just virtually, over the last hour and a half, proved it.
Well, and in the First Amendment, it says, right, the people, first of all, it talks about freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, right to peaceably assemble. And then the last one is the right to file grievances for redress of our grievances. And petition Congress for redress of grievances. Redress means they're supposed to respond or reply, and they don't, Sam. And I am not voting or supporting Congressman Andy Biggs, who's supposed to be on the Freedom Caucus, because for the last 4 or 5 years, we have had the Social Security Administration take away our money. They did it to me in 2017.
So you're talking about personally now?
Well, sort of, because I've gone to his office numerous times. I've gone to his office here personally. I've called him. I have his phone number. I have his cell number. I thought we were friends. Every time I talk to one of his staff, I tell him I thought Andy Biggs and I were friends. I've had Rick Dalton, who is a teacher of their children, the Biggs children. He is friends with the entire family, Mrs. Biggs and Andy, congressman, who is my congressman, and he has never replied to me once. And I've been doing this for years, leaving messages, calling. Rick Dalton called his wife for me to say, please have your husband call me. He still didn't. He didn't, no matter who we talked to, no matter who we tried, because they took Dawn's entire Social Security payment away because they said that she owed back money. And this is what they did to me in 2017. We made a mistake and you got paid too much, and so now I have to pay for their mistake. They sent the same stupid, ridiculous letter to Dawn. That's my wife of 50 years, by the way. And they took hers away. In 2017, Sam, you'll recall, I wasn't working as a teacher or anything. So I quit the job at Heritage Academy, and then we got screwed over by the people that we were trying to work with in Texas. And so money stopped, and they took off with the money, as you're well aware. And so literally, Sam, I made $17,000 in 2017. And they took about $6,500 from me and said I had to pay for it. And so they just started taking it out of my measly $1,500 a month Social Security check. Then they do it to Dawn, and they cut hers down all the way to $241 a month, $241 a month. And then they took the whole thing for about a year and a half, so they could pay themselves back for the mistake they made to us, supposedly. But it's the same MO. They did it to me, and they did it to her. How do they make such mistakes and then force us to pay for them? And why do they keep doing that over and over and over? And Andy Biggs would not respond at all. So,
well, and to add insult to injury, I called my congressman and my senators and explained that, hey, I've been reported on the congressional record as a domestic threat. They say that myself and James Edwards are the nexus of hate and anti-government in America today. And then you and I have been reported on the congressional record as well. And I said to my congressmen and senators, can you please help me with this? This is not accurate or factual. This clown group just put this, on the record in a hearing. I didn't know about it for a couple of years. I would have been notified that that's happening. And it's completely wrong and inaccurate. And basically, the senator ignored me, which my senators would be Mike Lee and what's his face? Mike Lee and who's the new senator now? Shoot.
Curtis.
Yeah, John Curtis, okay. Neither of those guys are willing to help me. My congressman basically assigned somebody then finally after pushing, and the person basically did a bunch of research for me and came back and said, yes, you are on the congressional record. I don't know what to say about it, and there's nothing I can really do about it.
Yeah.
So now my congressman's ignored me, your congressman's ignored you with some very serious personal issues. If you can't deal with an issue where someone's being falsely reported on the congressional record, I mean, at least if you say, well, it's got to stay on the congressional record, Sam, it's a historical document, then my response is fine. At least let me testify before the same committee and tell my side of the story or explain the reality as I see it.
Right.
Okay, because at least there should be a balance. Okay, well, none of that can happen. They're like, well, you can go ahead and get a hold of the committee. Well, I can't even get a hold of my congressman. How the heck am I going to get a hold of the committee? I mean, this is clown show 101. This is insanity. Well, if I take my issue or your issue, both critical personal issues, if congressmen and senators can't take that on for the average constituent, what good are they? What can they take on for me? You say, well, Sammy can vote for the right things if you encourage him to. I can't encourage him to. I want him to vote for this H.R. 7. But I can't even find out if he supports it or if he knows about it. And they say, well, Sam, we haven't had the talking points. I got to talk to the congressman. Listen, I called a month ago and said that Josh Hawley was putting in a bill and asked if you would co-author, meaning my congressman, would you co-author the bill or create a bill? And they said they'd get back to me. Now, a month and a half or a month later, I get a hold of them and they say, we don't even know anything about H.R. 7, which means somebody else worked on it, put it in the hopper. Not only did my congressman not get back to me, not decide if he'd sponsor a bill, not even find out if there's a bill out there that he could jump on board with. I know more about it than his staff does. Do you think he knows about it? Well, if he does and his staff doesn't know, he can't be supporter of it, can he? I doubt it. So where do we go with this thing? We're 4 months into this stupid thing. January, February, March, almost, part of April, I guess, 3.5 months, whatever. I haven't even seen any effort that they're making to do anything I want them to do whatsoever. Nothing.
Yeah, and I'm afraid that's SOP, standard operating procedure for most of them. When I was teaching high school, right after I left the sheriff's office in Arizona, the principal at the local high school said, hey, we have a teacher that's out sick. It looks like he's dying. We wanted you to take over the geography and history classes. And I said, okay, yeah, I don't have anything going on right now, and so I'd be happy to. And we sent, as a class, we sent a letter to Senator McCain at the time and asked him about these issues. He sent back a form letter. We're going to be monitoring. Oh, my goodness. The kids were so offended by it because it was such a bunch of BS. We're going to be monitoring. And
it probably wasn't even a letter addressed to the kids specifically. I mean, I know it said to the kids or whatever, but I don't even think it was a personal letter. It was just a form letter, right?
Well, it was a form letter, and then it was signed by maybe his stamped signature. And maybe they had him sign it real quick. I don't know. It looked like an authentic signature, but you know how they could.
But the question is, at the end of the day, if it was brought up to him, hey, remember when this class sent you a letter? Do you think he'd even know?
No, he wouldn't. And this was just to appease the kids and whatnot. But the kids were all very offended by it. Didn't even really address the issue. And I think it had something to do with the budget of that year that he supported and some of the spending that he was doing, but it didn't really matter what it was. But this was an assignment for class that the kids had to participate in, and it didn't work.
All right, when we come back, I want to talk about Florida, ladies and gentlemen. They're in the news. They're doing more right than most other states. I'll tell you that right now. Good for them. They're the ones that are going to double down and support Donald Trump with his deportation plans, Tom Holman and crew. I support Ron DeSantis in the great state of Florida. I wish other states would follow suit. Nevertheless, they're doing something else related to property tax that I think is fascinating and good news. Maybe we can get other states to jump aboard. We'll talk about it with a good sheriff in seconds. If you want to become a member of the posse, do so today at cspoa.org. Hang tight, more in seconds on your radio.
Your daily Liberty News Wire. You're listening to Liberty News Radio.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Wall Street comes roaring back. The Dow, Nasdaq, and the S&P are up almost 3% or more after a recent sell-off inspired by fears of a trade war resulting from President Trump's tariff hikes. Former Trump economic advisor Stephen Moore suggests Trump tariff critics simply do not understand the art of the deal.
He's using the threat of these higher tariffs to force these other countries to lower their tariffs. And if this works, and I think it will, although it's been painful for the last week seeing the market go down so much, at the end of the day, we could have freer and fairer trade, which will benefit everyone around the world.
More on the Salem Radio Network. Japan among countries seeking trade talks with the U.S., while China remains defiant, and that's prompting the president to threaten additional 50% tariffs on Chinese imports. One top House Republican says she's committed to helping the president with his economic program.
House GOP Conference Chair Lisa McClain of Michigan says the president's tariff strategy is already bearing fruit.
It's been a week. I think you already see people coming to the table.
McClain says there's no question the tariff war will cause some short-term pain, but also says the downside has been overblown by some in the media.
Somebody predicted, oh my God, it's going to be a Black Monday today, though. I think, how'd the Dow close? Right, a point up.
McClain convened a small group of reporters here to share her thoughts on everything from tariffs to the budget and future leadership in the House. Bob Agnew, Capitol Hill.
The Supreme Court has spoken, ruling the Trump administration has the right to deport illegal aliens under the Alien Enemies Act. It's been a deadly roof collapse, a nightclub in the Dominican Republic. At least 18 people killed, more than 120 others injured. And on Wall Street, the Dow is up more than 1,000 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
You want to give your dogs the very best. You take them on walks and pick the best food. No matter what they're eating, you should add Dr. Fido's to every bite. Just sit back and watch them lick their bowl clean, knowing they are getting 40 carefully selected ingredients made from whole foods, spices, and fibers, from bananas to sweet potatoes. Go to drfidos.com today and subscribe to save $20 each month. Vet developed, dog trusted. This is the human-grade dog food topper that gives you peace of mind. Don't just take our word for it.
I have used it on 2 dogs, Kipper and Coda, but I just started giving Kipper tons of the Dr. Fido's product. He actually started eating all of his food. Like, I actually had to give him more. The product has been very successful for both dogs.
Every dog deserves a topper worth barking about. Go to drfidos.com. That's drphytos.com.
You know where the solution can be found, Mr. President? In churches, in wedding chapels, in maternity wards across the country and around the world. More babies will mean forward-looking adults, the sort we need to tackle long-term, large-scale problems. American babies in particular are likely going to be wealthier, better educated, and more conservation-minded than children raised in still industrializing countries. As economist Tyler Cowen recently wrote, quote, "By having more children, you're making your nation more populous, thus boosting its capacity to solve climate change. The planet does not need for us to think globally and act locally so much as it needs us to think family and act personally. The solution to so many of our problems, at all times and in all places, is to fall in love, get married, and have some kids."
This is a battle between truth and deceit, a battle between forces that would enslave this country in darkness, and between a media that wants to present you with the truth. We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth. 90% of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in fact.
TheEpochTimes.com.
Looking for an IT partner that truly understands your needs? Managed IT Services is the answer. We meet with you regularly to discuss your goals and form a tailored technology plan. Our customers have called us a trusted advisor who delivers. When it comes to IT, we do it all. Firewalls, cloud storage, server migration, and more. Say goodbye to long-term contracts and hello to a team that earns your business month after month. Call 801-706-6980 now and let Managed IT Services transform your IT experience.
Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. It's Sam Bushman, the good sheriff, Sheriff Richard Max with me. Become a member of the posse today, cspoa.org. You can be part of the solution, people. Get involved and do it now. Florida, ladies and gentlemen, very interesting state to say the least. They've been doing a lot of good over the last several years, really standing up for conservative values more so than other states. They're not perfect, neither is their governor, but man, they're doing a really good job bringing up issues of importance. Listen carefully to what I'm about to say, and then I want the good sheriff to respond. Florida pulled in more than $55 billion in property taxes in the year 2024-2025 fiscal year, okay? $55 billion. But now, people in the state are working on dropping that number to zero. You say, what? You got it. Florida toys with the idea of killing property tax entirely in the state. Ron DeSantis is on board, writes Kate Siemens. So there's the story. Sheriff, what do you think of this?
Well, Sam, when I heard the rhetoric being used by Governor DeSantis, I was shocked, because it's the same thing that people in the freedom movement have been using for years. Why do I pay 30, 40 years for a home? I finally get it paid, and then I have to continue to pay rent to local government, local state and state government to just keep my home. And if I don't pay those, quote, taxes on my property that I've spent half my lifetime paying off, and now I got to keep paying what people call rent. Why am I paying rent on my own property that I already paid off and spent half my lifetime paying off?
Amen. And it begs the question, whose property is it, right?
Yeah, who owns it? And so, and then DeSantis actually was using that same rhetoric. And I said, wow, that's astonishing, because these are kind of the fanatic right-wingers that say, why do I have to pay taxes on my own home and my own property that I already paid off and paid all these other taxes on? And I think it's a legitimate argument, and that it's gone mainstream in Florida. Wonderful. That's great.
Amen.
And I really applaud DeSantis.
And I've been looking for the first state to abolish income and property taxes. If we could find a state that has both of those gone, I would be very serious in moving to that state. Right now, there's some states with no income tax. There's some states with no sales tax. There's some states with no property tax. But I want income tax and property tax gone. They're basically planks of the Communist Manifesto. And so I commend Florida for this. $55 billion. They'll have to come up with some of the money somewhere, but we always deceive ourselves in thinking, well, we got to come up with that $55 billion somewhere. No, we don't. We just got to decrease expenses somewhere. And maybe we need $30 billion. Where are we going to get it? Sales tax or, whatever. There's ways to do this. And so I'm looking for states that embrace this. And to Trump, I love your tariff idea, but you can't be finicky about it. You got to use Congress to codify it, and you've got to double down and do it consistently, and then say, hey, we're bringing in all this extra money. Let's reduce the burden on the American people now. Get rid of the IRS, get rid of the income tax, get rid of the property taxes. There's so many ways they could ease the burden on we the people, and they could replace that revenue with apportionment taxes and with tariffs in a heartbeat. But they're going to have to go on a diet when it comes to spending. Well, I see the tariffs being pushed by Trump, and good for him, but I don't see the hardcore dieting that government needs to do. I don't see Congress doing anything. I mean, do you even know when Congress starts their session today, Sheriff?
No, I don't know.
Last time I called in a couple of days ago, they were starting at 3.
Wow. What were they doing the rest of the day?
Probably twisting arms for votes. I don't know. How do you know? How do you have any idea? See, I think we need to put basically a digital leash on our congressmen and senators. I want to see where you're at all the time. Where are you? What are you doing on my watch? Where's my congressman right now? I can't find out if he supports a bill, and I can't even know where he's at, can I?
No, they don't respond. And the other thing I forgot to mention about Andy Biggs is that what prompted me to call his office again is that he sent out a postcard, it's bigger than a postcard, but he sent out a card saying, if you're ever having any problems with government, especially Social Security, call our office and we'll help you with that. I said, well, there's a farce. So I said, hey, I called his office. Hey, I just got this, and I've been trying to get your office to do something for me on this for a long time. And a girl called back, and she goes, well, I saw your problem. And then I told her all this about Andy Biggs never responding and thought we were friends. And another higher-up girl called back, and she says, well, we want to make sure you're being taken care of, and blah, blah, blah. I said, well, I thought Andy Biggs and I were friends, but we even called his wife and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she took the message and said, somebody will get back with you, and I'll make sure the right person gets this message, chief of staff or whatever for him. Nothing, Sam, nothing since that time. Nothing. So I am not going to vote for him, and I'm meeting with another candidate for governor because he's running for governor now instead of the House again, which really is kind of weird because that's a 50% cut in pay for him. Because governor makes about $98,000 and the senator makes about $180,000. So anyway, I don't care what it is, and I don't care.
Yeah, but that's the money above board, Sheriff. If you're in specific positions, you can get rich. If you don't believe me, just go ask Barbara Boxer and Nancy Pelosi and all these clowns, right?
Right, exactly. Lamar Smith, who I ran against in 2012 in Texas. And so, yeah, it's just a big money game. It's money and power, and just keeps going and going. But I'm sure Andy Biggs is a decent person, but I'm not buying his rhetoric anymore. I'm not buying his word, and his staff is lying for him. We'll get back to you, and we're here to help any way we can, and it's just a bunch of bull. And I would imagine that if I made an appointment to bring him a campaign donation, that I would be able to meet with him.
Oh, yeah, buddy, he'd be ready to rock and roll. He's available for you, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. And sadly, I just predict it's going to get worse, not better. And they're going to redraw the census, or they're going to redraw the boundaries based on the census. And I'm telling you right now, illegals are going to put several representatives in. They're going to change the game. You thought you've had close majorities in the past. I'm sorry, you had close calls, slim majorities in the past or whatever. You're going to see that go crazy. You're going to see that become more lopsided towards the liberal bent because, hey, we're allowing that to happen. Anyway, all right, the iconic film festival, Sheriff. It's called Film Fest or Film Festival. It's called the Sundance Film Festival. Now it's moving from Utah. They say nearly after 5 decades, this Sundance Film Festival will move from Utah to Boulder, Colorado, starting in 2027.
I wonder why.
They didn't say why, but I've got an interesting twist for them. The Outdoor Retailers show used to be in Salt Lake City, and the environmentalists wanted to control the Outdoor Retailers show, and Utah said, no, we're not letting the environmentalists control this thing. And so what happened is the Outdoor Retailer show got all mad and left and went to Colorado. Well, it went so horribly, they came back. So the film festival, you'll probably see the same thing. The problem is that, people want freedom to choose. And the more liberal of a state you go to, the less freedom to choose you have, Sheriff. And people find that out quickly and go, whoa, hold on, wait a minute. That's not what I was thinking. And you're seeing that all over the country as well.
Wow. Well, I don't blame anybody if they get a better deal, but if they're just doing it for political reasons, I don't know. I was surprised when you said it's been going on for 50 years.
Oh yeah, it's been 5 decades, man.
It's
a long time.
Yeah, it is.
All right, I'm going to tease this up. We're going to talk about it after the break here. The break's coming up in just a second, but I'll tease it right now. Headline says, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth will issue a memo setting, quote, equal standards for men and women in combat roles across the armed services. He announced the details on X. And so you got to kind of wonder what all that means, right? The memo, they say, aims to implement the, quote, same set of standards for all service members involved in combat, regardless of sex. He said the services will review the guidance to ensure the highest and the equal standards for men and women in combat. For far too long, we have let standards to slip, he said in the Post. I want to dig into this, folks, because I got a problem with the whole discussion. You'll see what it is and see what the good sheriff says in seconds.
The Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit legal foundation committed to protecting our unalienable right to publicly acknowledge God. The Foundation for Moral Law exists to restore the knowledge of God in law and government and to acknowledge and defend the truth that man is endowed with rights not by our fellow man, but by God. The foundation maintains a twofold focus. First, litigation within state and federal courts. Second, education. Conducting seminars to teach the necessity and importance of acknowledging God in law and government. How can you help? Please make a tax-deductible contribution, allowing foundation attorneys to continue the fight. You may also purchase various foundation products as well at morallaw.org. Located in Montgomery, Alabama, the Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit, tax-exempt 501c3 founded by Judge Roy Moore. Please partner with us to achieve this important mission. morallaw.org.
Have you ever had great honey? No, I mean really good, all-natural, raw honey? Well, now you can, thanks to localhoneyman.com. We can ship out our locally made honey all across the U.S. So don't worry, you won't miss out. Plus, Local Honeyman has so many different flavors, like Utah Wildflower, High Desert Delight, Happy Valley, and Blackberry, just to name a few. So purchase your delicious raw honey today at localhoneyman.com.
Do you treasure your liberty? Well, at lovingliberty.net, we most certainly do. And we want to help protect your liberty too. Become part of the family. Everyone knows that the core of any society is the family. Therefore, the government should foster and protect the integrity of its family, we the people. Won't you join us as a Loving Liberty sponsor to help us promote the principles in the 5,000-year leap? Let's restore the miracle that changed the world at lovingliberty.net.
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. Sam Bushman, the good sheriff, on your radio. There's so much going on, man. It's just hard to even deal with it all, right? But the interesting thing is that every news story we talk about has a purpose. And the focus of a story that we give oftentimes is completely different than the focus most folks give to stories. So understand, that's why it's called news the networks refuse to use. They won't even discuss the takes that we have. I mean, think about my question. Can you think of a single law-abiding good thing that the President of the United States could say or do that the majority of the American people and government officials would agree with / champion? I can't think of a single one. I don't know a single thing where they'd be like, yep, you know what, that's awesome. That's great. That's good for America. That's good for all of us. That's just phenomenal. I can't find a single thing. And that is just shocking to me. But Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth will issue a memo setting, quote, equal standards for men and women in combat roles across the services, he wrote on X. For far too long, we have allowed standards to slip, he said in his post. We've had different standards for men and women serving in combat, and that's not acceptable, and it changes right now, he says. Now, Sheriff, on one hand, I agree that the standards should be the same between men and women. But I got a bigger problem with this. I don't want women in combat roles at all. Now, you might just come back and say, Sam, you're just a chauvinist pig. But I think men are here to protect women, and I don't think women belong in combat roles. And it's not that they're not smart. It's not that they're not capable in many ways. It's that, you know, societally speaking, we ought to protect the women. We ought to protect. Okay. So the debate is, should they be equal, number one? And number two, we'll get to. But should they be equal?
Sam, you already know I've never approved of that either. And there are a few women who would be good in combat.
Oh, sure. There's exceptions for sure.
But I still, for the most part, when we had the first females starting to do work as patrol officers, first of all, the physical requirements for them to become an officer were way less than the men. And I always wondered about that. If the standards are so less, then why are we putting them on the street to say that they're the same as men? Because they're not. And they didn't have to do the same as men. And so the way I figured it, if you want equal jobs, and you got to do equal qualifications. But there was none of that. It wasn't even close, Sam.
Just compare it for a quick second. Could you put the best female basketball player on the court in the NBA, and how well would they do? I mean, doesn't that tell you the story right there? The best one you can think of anywhere, anytime. Put them on the court with the male NBA and see how it goes.
Yeah. No, it won't work.
It will not go well, I'm telling you right now.
But like for women, the men had to do so many push-ups, like 50 in 1 minute. And women had to do 50 in 1 minute, but from their knees, not on their toes, and straight, parallel. Yeah. They got to do them on their, which, any man could do 150, and so it's so easy. It's about half the weight, and so no, it wasn't the same. And so for women to say, yeah, we deserve the same as men, no, it's baloney, because you didn't and you don't. And some women can do it, I admit, but it's very few. And we were worried more about her going on a family fight without any backup, and we were always busting our butt to make sure that the female cop on our shift had adequate backup. Now, we want everybody to have backup, but if it was a male officer, we would get there as soon as we could. Most of the time, the male officer didn't even ask for backup. It's good to go on any family situation, any domestic dispute or argument or fight. You want another person there, but we didn't wait. And like if I was the first one responding, I went in. And same thing with a bar fight or anything else. But no, any call, they were always being mama coddled, and that's just the truth of it. And that's not as much today, but it's not because the female officers are better qualified and better trained physically. It's just that we've calmed it down over the years. But it's the truth. And I told women when they wanted a job for me, I said, I don't believe law enforcement is where women should be. There's places for you, and dispatch and in the jail and whatnot. But patrol officers, she's 5'3", weighs 135, 140 pounds, and she couldn't bench press 90 pounds. But okay, so now we're going to just put you out there. But at the same time, I was fair. If they finished number one, they got the job. And so I hired a couple of women while I was sheriff, and they did decent jobs. But I'm telling you right now, there was always problems.
Well, and let's be clear, and it's not that women aren't good or intelligent or capable. They have different traits.
We like them.
By God. And so, but here's the problem that I have. If you make men and women equal when it comes to combat, then at some point, if there's ever a draft, you're going to insist the women are in on the draft as well. In other words, conscription will be focused on women. Any women that's there will have to be conscribed just like the men. I don't believe in conscription in the first place, but I certainly don't believe women ought to be forced into the draft as well. We're changing. And the less we protect and care for women, societally speaking, the worse it's going to get, Sheriff.
Yeah. Well, it's just a reality, Sam, and the push that they're trying to make now that women can have babies or men can have babies, and women and men are the exact same. Why are they lying like that? If you have to lie and exaggerate your position, there's something wrong, drastically wrong. So just tell it straight. You know, if you believe women can do most everything that men can do, say that. But don't tell us we're the same. We're not the same. And the example you gave, show me any woman that could even stay with the worst NBA player. Give me the best NBA player, the WNBA player, against the worst, one of the worst. I mean, the worst, and for men, and it wouldn't even be a game. And so the problem is reality. We are not the same. Men cannot have babies, and we need to recognize that there are legitimate.
And just imagine a woman quarterback too. She may be great at throwing the ball. She may be even better than a man at throwing the ball. But how many big guys on the line are going to really nail the woman with the ball? And if they do, what will happen to her? I'm telling you, it will not be pretty.
No.
Even the men get so beat up they can't even handle it. They get concussed and everything else to the point where it's like, are you kidding me? I mean, a woman would just get smashed. And so we've got to be real about this. But what I don't want is conscription for women. That's the reason that I bring this up. I'm convinced once we make men and women equal in combat and say, okay, then we open them up to the next step, which is, hey, conscription. And the question becomes, will President Trump become a war president? Will he be backed into it by bad actors and people that are whispering in his ear to promote and to be part of war? I mean, he's already bombing Yemen without any authority, without any real evidence or cause, right?
No, it actually gets me pretty mad and frustrated when they try to say that men and women are the same. What's the agenda behind all of that? To neuter our society. And I can't come up with any other reasonable conclusion because it's so unreasonable.
Even take sex to make my point that we can't agree on anything. You know, to me, sex is a beautiful thing between male and female to bring children to the world and bring a husband and a wife closer together. But to them, every sex is incredible except for the God-ordained kind. That's not acceptable. That's just whacked out crazy. Right? Isn't that how society is right now? If you stand up for normal, God-ordained sexual relations, then you're crazy. I mean, they'll attack you like Mike Pence and be like, how dare you not sit with women without your wife present or whatever. And they'll just go off crazy. You can't even stand for the proper role of the God-ordained sexual relationship. If you stand on that, you're standing alone pretty much. But every other perversion is perfectly great, right?
Yeah. And you know, I've seen it. I've seen two husbands in a relationship, and I had that situation where I met with both parents. Both were fathers, and this is my husband. Yeah, this is my husband, and they were very respectful. They were very nice people, and we got along great. And they would come and talk to me and meet with me about their son. And he was not homosexual. His parents were, obviously. And we got along fine. But they were very respectful about the whole situation.
And I'm going to take on the word parent. I guess we got to debate what a parent is, too, to some degree. But there you go. Two dads and no mom. You know, see, the further we go from God's ordained plans, the worse it gets for us. When are we going to repent and turn to God, family, and country in the traditional God-ordained sense? I hope it's sooner than later, because if we don't, we will continue to fractionalize as a society. On the other hand, if we do turn to God Almighty, pretty soon all the divide lines start to disintegrate. It's only a godless, communist idea that divides on every fault line. Good, honest, moral people that believe in God, family, and country find ways to civilly unite. That's what we seek on this radio program. Become a member of the Posse today, CSPOA.org. Thank you, good Sheriff Richard Mack, and God save the Republic of the United States of America.